Hi guys, Mary Dee here, and thank you for your continued prayers and hearing your outreach. It's always really encouraging. I want to give a quick shout out to Marie in Northern California, who her and her group have like a prayer group, and they knit these little prayer shawls, and so they pray for you while they knit them, and then they send them to you. So I want to thank these ladies from it's SF of A prayer shawl, San Jose, California. So thank you. This is super sweet, and I've been using it during my meditation time. So thank you so much. So lots of updates. Number one, I went and saw Dr. Marvin again to finish up some of what's going on in my mouth. Before I went in for my double mastectomy, what I did is I did go in and get these root canals taken care of, because there is a correlation between root canals and where breast cancer shows up in the body. You can watch some of my earlier videos for some reference to that. You can also go to Dr. Marvin's site, and there is a chart, a meridian chart, that will actually show you the correlation between different the meridian lines of your teeth and the organs in your body. So I encourage you to check that out. The next thing is going to be that I had this left side now taken care of. So Dr. Marvin went in and took off one of the crowns that I had. It's a very old crown, and that one has a metal on the inside, and my body is really sensitive to metals. So that was kind of the last thing in the world of teeth that I needed to get taken care of. So we took care of that this last month. So that was exciting. I also received a little, I don't know what you call them. They're basically a matchup of the teeth that were pulled, so that I don't have a giant gap here when I laugh really big or smile really big. So it's getting more comfortable as I wear it. I can chew with it and eat with it, and as you can tell, I still have a full set of teeth here when I smile and when you see me. So it's great, and just a little getting used to, but totally worth it. The other thing is going to be that I got a second opinion. So from my last video, you guys know I gave you an update on my onco scores and what those meant to my first doctor, my first oncologist, and then I went and got a second opinion from another oncologist out in California. And so I'm really, really glad that I did that. The oncologist basically said to me that my onco score is very personal to me. And that is true. As you guys know, my onco score fell right in the middle of the range. So just a brief recap: if it's on the lower end, they are typically less aggressive about any suggestions they make to after post-surgery treatments like chemotherapy and radiation. If you're really high on the scale, then they have a lot more supporting information for the percentages of chemotherapy that typically, help in those situations. For me, I'm right in the middle, and that means that in my body, they're actually not sure if there's any miniature cancer cells floating around from where it could have, escaped during surgery or gotten into the bloodstream at some point. So there's no test we can do. There's nothing that's going to tell us if yes there is or no there isn't. So that's why this is an interesting time. And there's a few things that I found out. Number one, that the doctor has to actually present you with a chemotherapy option, because if they don't and something shows up in your body, they have to be able to go back from a malpractice standpoint and say to you, yes, we did offer it. Whether she took it or not is up to her. So that's the first thing, and that was slightly disturbing, and I'll tell you why. Because when the second oncologist explained to me what my onco score meant and the chances, based on the information they have thus far, the chances of my having a recurrence, a breast recurrence, is already incredibly low. Number one, because I had a double mastectomy. That's the whole reason I did it, so that I wouldn't have to deal with chemotherapy or radiation therapy afterwards. So to have another oncologist say to me, well, no, you should do 12 weeks of this intensive 3-drug chemotherapy, was kind of like, wait, what? So I have to really weigh that out. And the other thing they want me to do is take a drug called tamoxifen, and I've mentioned that before as well, because the kind of breast cancer that I had was estrogen and progesterone positive, which means that in a nutshell, you want to block those receptors from talking to the cells, because they are what do deliver some nutrients to feed cancer. But all kinds of things feed our cells. So for example, sugar actually feeds all of our cells, whether they have cancer or not. So obviously feeds it in a negative way if you have cancerous cells. So the other thing that I just will say is that after talking to the second surgeon, what she said is I could certainly do a chemotherapy, but the regimen she would recommend for me is a lot less extreme than what the first oncologist would have suggested. And so there's a few things here, and I'm going to drop these links into the chat box so you can see that. But I came across a great blog, and it's called Is Your Doctor Getting Drug Kickbacks? And I wanted to share that with you guys today because I think that you may feel differently if you're going through this process to know if your doctor is getting a kickback or not. Now, in the wide world of business, these are pretty normal kickbacks and referral fees and stuff like that. They make the world go round in the world of business, and they're great for partnerships. But in the world of drugs and prescriptions and the things your doctor should be giving you, there is a slight conflict of interest that we all have to consider. And so what I did is I went and looked through this article, and it takes you to a page that will actually, it's called Dollars for Docs. And I'll drop the link in here. And I sent you the link to the blog. Check out the blog because the link is in there as well. And then I also included this link. But you can actually put in the name of your doctor and the state you're in, and it will tell you that between August of 2013 to December of 2015, if your doctor got any kickbacks from offering chemotherapy. And I thought, well, what an interesting thing. Let me go take a look. So I typed in the doctor, the oncologist that I see here in good old Fort Worth, Texas. And as I pulled that up, I was kind of shocked to see that she comes up first on the list, and that in that time frame, she took a kickback of $51,470 from recommending chemotherapy. And when I look at all the other doctors in the area who have received kickbacks in that frame of time, not one other doctor here that shows up on this particular page received more than $1,300 in kickbacks. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I wonder why her norm is so much bigger than some of these other doctors. And so then I went on to type in oncologists and things like that to see what else in the area we can compare to. But I will say that she makes a mint off of chemotherapy, so I am starting to understand why she would tend to overtreat, because of course this is a great way to line her pocket. Now, I'm not saying that that's the reason she recommended a incredibly aggressive chemotherapy plan for me, for someone who's in that mid-range, but at the same time, it does leave one to wonder. So then what I did is I went and I typed in the other oncologist that I got the second opinion from, and she's out in California. And when I look at what her numbers came in at, and again, I realize that this is from a couple of years ago, but it's a pretty good indicator of probably what's been going on for the last few years anyway, that I'm not seeing here on this site where all this was published. And when I go on here, that doctor in that time frame had taken $217 in chemotherapy drug kickbacks. And in general, I'm looking at other people in the area, and again, those aren't quite as high. So it's interesting to me to go from one doctor who recommends such a serious and vigorous chemotherapy plan for me, who I can look back and go, well, that year she took $51,000 in chemotherapy kickbacks, and then to look at the second doctor who was like, that seems a little aggressive. I probably wouldn't suggest that for you. And her total kickbacks were $217. So I feel like someone's not disclosing everything to me, but I'm trying to take everything with a grain of salt. So second thing I looked up is tamoxifen. A good friend of mine was able to tell me a story that I believe is true, but at the end of the day, it's hearsay, right? Because he heard it, your friend tells you that it was their experience, and there's not like anyone was sitting around to document this. But she actually sat next to someone on an airplane who is one of the makers of tamoxifen, and asked them, hey, if you were to get cancer, would you take this drug? And they said, absolutely not. There's quite a bit linking tamoxifen with endometriosis, cervical cancers, and things like that. And I said, that's interesting. So basically you're trading one cancer for another, right? And so I said, let's go look up tamoxifen. Let's just go read some more about it. And I think it's fair to say that if there are, risks, that those are going to be the top things that they probably have to list, because again, your people in pharmaceutical sales are the ones educating the doctors on these, unless doctors are doing their own research on some of these drugs. So what I learned is that tamoxifen received back in 2002 a black box warning, and that is it's the strictest type of FDA label on the market. And I got this from www.drugcenter.com, and type in tamoxifen and it'll pull this up for you. And it said that tamoxifen was required to carry this black box warning after research identified the risk of uterine sarcoma in patients. Information provided by the FDA states that women are 8 to 17 times more at risk of developing uterine sarcoma taking tamoxifen than those not on the medication. Although uterine sarcoma is rare, it is often not discovered until it has aggressively spread and is more difficult to treat. So for me, I said, okay, I don't want to trade one cancer for another, number one. And then number two, I believe I'm cancer free, so why would I bother taking tamoxifen? So it's interesting because, like I said, there was a time when it came to the market and people thought it was super effective, but there's also a lot of interactions. There's a lot of risks that people will take when they are on tamoxifen. Side effects of tamoxifen can cause some serious side effects, including blood clots, stroke, and endometrial cancer. So again, the fact that those are going to be the first three listed here at breastcancer.org under treatments, under tamoxifen. Again, lots of things to read here. And again, very personal decision. So for me, I'm opting out of drugs altogether for chemotherapy and tamoxifen and all of that. So pharmaceutical grade drugs for me are out the door, and I haven't been indulging in them, and I don't plan on indulging in them. So that's where I'm at with my update on my health. I feel great, so let me let everyone know that. I did yoga last month, good old hot yoga, Bikram, while I was in San Clemente. And now I'm back here in Texas, so the weather's been beautiful. So it's back on the lake, nice and warm again. I'm going to play in some sunshine and enjoy this summer. And other than that, I think those are the big things that I wanted to share with you guys today, and just let you know where I am. Feeling good, feeling strong, not feeling sick, and it feels good. I feel like my normal self again. I'm well adjusted to my new breasts, and I will see the reconstructive surgeon on Monday for a checkup, because it's January 23rd was my surgery date, and now we are here in April, and it's been a few months. So I'm excited. I think we're going to talk about whether I want to put nipples on there or not. I don't know. I like them kind of the way they are. Can walk around braless and nobody knows. Anyway, little TMI, but it's who I am. And I hope you guys are great. Thank you for your love and your support. Appreciate you. Do your research, do your homework, because this journey will be very personal to you. And don't let fear get the best of you.